And we did roll through our 4 SDRs plus our own local antenna, and heard nothing, so it must be time. That means it must be time for Adventures in Radioland. This segment, well, gosh, a magnetic loop antenna for commercial AM radio? Now, how does that work? Well, you know, I have spent 50 years in broadcasting, and all of my stations have been AM broadcast stations. I never once worked for an FM station, and nothing derogatory about FM. I just preferred AM, and so I spent 50 years and out, and now that I'm out, I do like to check in across the country to the various stations, and I have been using just a regular radio with an outside antenna, and that's all right, but still subject to some noise. So I wanted to try to improve the signal. So the first thing, I just dallied with a little AM loop, magnetic loop antenna, and that worked fairly well. But I'm still, you know, the thing is, magnetic loop, you have to manually adjust the tune capacitor, and well, some don't. If you can afford one of those motor-driven jobbers, which I can't quite afford that, so I've been manually tuning that. But that means that you have to have the loop fairly close to your long reach of your arm from the bedroom, and I didn't, you know, finally wanted to get a little bit better signal and less noise, so I did go ahead and build a small loop, a 14-inch loop, and I went outside and I got 100 foot of RG6 quad, and went up the tower about 20 feet, but I can still, if I have to tune my loop orientation-wise, I can still get to it fairly easily there at the crown of the roof, but I usually use it southeast and northwest, and that particular orientation is just absolutely perfect for WGN in Chicago, and the Atlanta station WSB. No, is that right? Well, anyway, the Atlanta 50K station, and with that orientation, but I still get great signals out of New York and all over the country. You know, a loop antenna is not exactly what you would call a Yagi as far as directionality, although it is fairly sharp off one part of the end of the loop, but by and large, it's you know, it is obviously bidirectional, and it's just doing a great job. Now, I have suffered some sensitivity losses by just going to the loop, because the radio is an old C-Crown shortwave receiver. It had two double loop, well, one double loop on the internal antenna, and it was very, very sensitive, but unfortunately it was sensitive right at that location, which is in the ground and in a noisy area, so I had to just come off the RFN and go directly to the coax up to the loop. So I am just a little bit not as very sensitive as it was. However, I have noticed that there is a lot to be said for a signal fading to quiet as a fading to noise. So, you know, a lot of on that lower loop, I would get fade outs, and they would just fade out to noise, and the noise obviously was as loud as the signal, which you know, it's all right, but it's a little nerve jangling at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to you know, just get a little sleep there, and with that radio in the background. So this way, when the signal declines, it just fades to quiet, and I'm learning to really appreciate that. Anyway, this had been Adventures in Radioland, segment 3, the magnetic loop antenna for AM radio. This is KC9VKV, and we are live till 5, air checking, and if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. KC9VKV.